Somber, reflective music begins softly and fades into the background. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. We're diving into a story that hits close to home for too many people. It's about trust, the promises we make, and what happens when those promises are shattered. This is the story of Mark and Clara, and how a vow of forever unraveled in just a few short months. Mark was what you'd call a hopeless romantic. He met Clara in college, and from that first moment, he was completely smitten. She had this infectious laugh and a way of making everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room. He courted her for years, writing poems, planning surprise picnics, the whole 9 yards. For Mark, she was the one. There was no plan B. When he proposed on their 5th anniversary, under a sky full of stars, her yes felt like the beginning of his forever. Their wedding was beautiful, a perfect day filled with family, friends, and promises whispered with genuine emotion. Mark looked at Clara at the altar and saw his entire future. "I promise to be loyal to you forever," she said, her eyes locked on his. He believed her. Why wouldn't he? He had poured his entire heart into their relationship, building a foundation he thought was unshakable. He worked hard at his accounting job, not just for himself, but to build a comfortable life for them, a home filled with love and future children. He was all in. The first 6 months were blissful. They settled into their new home, a cozy little house Mark had put a down payment on with his life savings. They decorated it together, laughing over paint swatches and mismatched furniture. Mark would come home every day excited to see her, to hear about her day working at a local art gallery. He'd often cook dinner just so she could relax. He was happy, truly and deeply happy, living the life he had always dreamed of. But dreams, as we know, can sometimes turn into nightmares. The first crack appeared so subtly Mark almost missed it. Clara started working late more often. At first he was supportive. "Big project at the gallery," she'd say, looking tired. He'd have dinner waiting for her, no questions asked. But the late nights became more frequent. Then came the work dinners and weekend gallery events he wasn't invited to. He'd ask if he could join, and she'd wave it off, saying, "Oh, it's just boring shop talk. You'd hate it." A small knot of unease began to form in his stomach, but he pushed it down. "Trust," he told himself. "You have to trust her." His unease grew when Clara started becoming more protective of her phone. It was always face down on the table, and she'd quickly snatch it up if he got too close. One evening, a message popped up while she was in the shower. The name was Alex's Work. The message preview was innocent enough. "About tomorrow's shipment." But something about it felt off. When Mark casually mentioned it later, Clara got defensive. "Why were you looking at my phone?" "Alex is just my colleague. You're being paranoid." Her reaction was sharp, so different from the easygoing woman he married. The word paranoid stung. Was he? He started to doubt his own intuition. The distance between them grew into a chasm. The easy laughter was replaced with tense silence. Their intimate moments became rare, often feeling forced. Mark felt like he was living with a stranger. He tried to bridge the gap, suggesting date nights, a weekend getaway, anything to reconnect. Clara would agree, but then cancel at the last minute. "Something came up at work," was the constant excuse. Mark's heart ached with a loneliness he'd never felt before. A loneliness that was somehow worse, because the person he loved was right there beside him, yet a million miles away. The breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday. Mark got off work early, a rare treat, and decided to surprise Clara at the gallery, maybe take her to an early dinner. He pictured her face lighting up when she saw him. But when he arrived, the gallery was quiet. Her co-worker, a friendly older woman named Sarah, was closing up. "Oh, Clara left hours ago," Sarah said kindly. "She said she was feeling unwell and was heading straight home." A cold dread washed over Mark. He had just come from home. It was empty. He thanked Sarah, his voice barely a whisper, and walked back to his car, the rain mirroring the storm brewing inside him. He drove home, his mind racing. He called Clara's phone. No answer. He called again. And again. Straight to voicemail. Where could she be? The lie was so blatant, so careless. He sat in his car in their driveway for what felt like an eternity, the pieces of the puzzle clicking into place with horrifying clarity. The late nights, the phone, the distance. It wasn't paranoia. It was his intuition, screaming a truth he had refused to see. He finally went inside, the house feeling cold and unwelcoming. An hour later, Clara walked in, humming a little tune. She stopped when she saw him sitting in the dark. "Mark, you scared me. What are you doing sitting here?" she asked, her voice a little too bright. "I came to surprise you at work," he said, his own voice flat, devoid of emotion. "Sarah said you left hours ago because you were sick." Clara's face went pale. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. The lie was caught, hanging in the air between them. "So, Clara," Mark continued, his voice breaking, "where were you?" The confession that followed was a torrent of whispered words and tearful apologies. It was Alex, the colleague from work. It started as a harmless flirtation, she claimed, an ego boost. But it had become more, much more. They had been meeting for months. Every late night, every work dinner, every canceled plan. It was all a lie to cover her affair. Each word was a dagger to Mark's heart. He just sat there, listening to the woman he had promised his life, to describe how she had given pieces of herself to someone else. The most painful part was her justification. "I felt bored," she said. "Our life, it was just so predictable. Alex made me feel excited, alive, predictable." The word echoed in the silent room. The stable, loving life Mark had worked so hard to build for them, she called it predictable. He had given her his whole world, and she had traded it for a cheap thrill because she was bored. The promise of forever loyalty had crumbled under the weight of a few lies. In the days that followed, Mark moved like a ghost through the home they had built together. Every corner held a memory now tainted by betrayal. Clara begged for forgiveness, promised it would never happen again, that she'd do anything to fix it. But how could he believe her? Her promises were worthless. Trust, once shattered, is nearly impossible to piece back together. The foundation of their marriage wasn't just cracked, it was completely demolished. Mark knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that he could never look at her the same way again. Their forever was over. It's a heartbreaking end to what started as a beautiful love story. Betrayal is a profound wound, and the journey to healing is long and difficult. If you've ever experienced something like this, please know that you are not alone, and it is not your fault. It's so important to surround yourself with a support system, friends, family, or a professional therapist who can help you navigate these painful emotions. Rebuilding your life and your sense of self is possible. Thank you for listening to Mark's story. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories that explore the complexities of human relationships. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.